You're just the stand-in, Anthony. You understand that, right? My wife's words hung in the air like poison. I stood there in our kitchen, grocery bags still in my hands, turkey, stuffing mix, cranberry sauce, all the things I'd picked up for our Christmas dinner. The bags suddenly felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. I'm Anthony Miller, 42 years old, operations manager at a logistics company, and apparently just a placeholder in my own family. Deborah sat at the kitchen table with her daughter Emma, 12 years old, both of them looking at me like I'd walked in on a private conversation. Emma wouldn't meet my eyes. She was picking at her fingernails, something she only did when she felt guilty. Emma and I are spending Christmas and New Year with her real father, Deborah continued, her voice matter-of-fact, like she was discussing grocery lists. We leave December 20th. We'll be back January 4th. I set the bags down slowly on the counter. The turkey made a dull thud. My hands were trembling and I didn't want them to see, so I kept my back turned, pretending to organize the groceries. You're spending Christmas with Marcus, I said quietly. It wasn't a question. He invited us. He wants real quality time with Emma. As a family. As a family. The words cut deeper than she probably intended. Or maybe exactly as deep as she intended. I turned around, forcing myself to look at Emma. Is this what you want, sweetheart? She finally glanced up and I saw something in her eyes. Confusion, maybe guilt, but also something else. Hope. She hoped her real dad would somehow make everything magical. Dad said he has a big house now, Emma said softly. With a pool. And he has a little brother for me. Dad. Not Marcus. Not my birth father. Dad. I'd been in her life for 4 years. I was the one who taught her to ride a bike, the one who stayed up until midnight helping her build that volcano for the science fair, the one who scared away the monsters under her bed. But I would never be Dad. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share and subscribe for more interesting videos. That night I couldn't sleep. Deborah was beside me, breathing peacefully like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just told me I was disposable. I stared at the ceiling, watching the shadows from the streetlight outside play across the paint. My mind kept circling back to Emma's 10th birthday 2 years ago. I'd worked double shifts for 3 weeks straight to afford that purple bike she'd been obsessing over. The look on her face when she saw it in the driveway wrapped in a giant bow, I thought that meant something. I thought I'd become her dad that day even if she never said the word. Then there was the father-daughter dance at school last spring. Deborah had assumed Marcus would take her, but he'd canceled last minute, some work thing in Denver. Emma had been devastated, locked in her room crying. I'd knocked softly on her door. Emma? I know I'm not your real dad, but would you let me take you? She'd hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. At the dance, she'd introduced me to her friends. This is my stepdad, Anthony. Not dad, but stepdad. I'd counted it as a win. Now, lying in the dark, those memories felt like evidence in a trial I was losing. I picked up my phone, the screen brightness making me squint. I scrolled through my email looking for something, though I wasn't sure what. Then I found it. Subject line, final offer, senior director position, Sydney, Australia, expires December 15th. I'd received this email 6 months ago. It was the 3rd time they'd offered me the position. The first offer came 18 months ago, right after Emma started middle school. I'd declined. The second came at 12 months. Declined again. This third one, 6 months ago, I'd told them no within an hour of receiving it. My thumb hovered over the email. I opened it and read the salary line. $340,000 annually, plus relocation package, plus Harborview apartment included for the first year. I turned it down because Deborah's mother had just been diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. Because Emma was finally settling into her friend group. Because I'd made a promise at our wedding. I slipped out of bed at 2 in the morning, careful not to wake Deborah. My home office felt different in the darkness, colder, more honest somehow. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop, the blue glow illuminating my face. My fingers found the keyboard and I started typing before I could talk myself out of it. Dear Margaret, if the Sydney position is still available, I'm ready to accept. I can start January 7th. I'll need relocation assistance within 2 weeks. Best regards, Anthony Miller. I stared at the words for a full minute. This was insane. This was impulsive. This was completely unlike me. I was the guy who made spreadsheets before buying a toaster. But I clicked send. The whoosh sound seemed deafening in the quiet house. My heart hammered against my ribs. What had I just done? 3 minutes later, I watched the clock tick to 2:47 a.m. A reply pinged into my inbox. Anthony. Yes. We've been holding out hope you'd reconsider. Welcome to the team. Our relocation coordinator will contact you Monday morning. This is wonderful news. Margaret. I read it twice, 3 times. They've been holding out hope. For me. While my own family called me the stand-in. Footsteps in the hallway made me freeze. Deborah's silhouette appeared in the doorway, backlit by the hallway nightlight. Can't sleep? She yawned, rubbing her eyes. I closed the laptop smoothly, casually. Just work stuff. Go back to bed. She shrugged, already turning away. Don't stay up too late. She shuffled back to the bedroom. I heard the mattress creak as she climbed back in. I sat there in the darkness, my hands shaking now that she was gone. Something had shifted inside me. Something fundamental. I wasn't angry, anger would have been easier. I was just done. Completely, utterly done. The next week became a blur of calculated moves. While Deborah and Emma shopped for their trip, new outfits, new luggage, Emma chattering about the pool at Marcus's house, I executed my exit strategy with surgical precision. Monday, December 13th. I opened a new bank account at a different branch during my lunch break. Transferred my next paycheck there. The bank officer smiled. Starting fresh? She asked. I managed to smile back. Something like that. Tuesday. I met with Robert Chin, a divorce attorney my colleague had recommended. His office smelled like leather and old books. How long have you been married? He asked. For years, I said. He nodded, making notes. Short marriage, both employed, no biological children together. This should be straightforward. Straightforward. Like dismantling my life was just paperwork. Wednesday. I changed passwords. Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, all the accounts I paid for. I removed my card from our joint Amazon account. Small things, but each one felt like cutting a rope tethering me to a sinking ship. Thursday. I booked a one-way flight to Sydney. December 21st, 6 in the morning. The cursor hovered over purchase for 30 seconds before I clicked it. $1,247. Non-refundable. Friday. I packed 2 suitcases while Deborah was at work and Emma was at school. Not everything, I couldn't risk them noticing. Just essentials. Clothes, documents, my father's watch, the photo of my parents on their wedding day. I hid the suitcases in the garage attic, behind the Christmas decorations we'd never use again. Saturday. I withdrew $47,000 from our joint savings account. Every penny was mine, my inheritance from my father. The bank teller counted it twice. Large withdrawal, she noted. Buying a car, I lied. Sunday. I wrote the letter. Sealed it. Set it on my desk, waiting. Morning came too fast. I stood in the driveway watching Deborah load suitcases into her SUV. Emma carried a new winter coat, price tag still dangling from the sleeve. $120. I'd been clipping coupons for our grocery bills for the past month. Have a good time, I said, helping lift the largest suitcase into the trunk. My voice sounded normal. I'd practiced it in the mirror that morning. Emma glanced at me briefly. Thanks, Anthony. Not stepdad. Not even a hug. Just Anthony, like I was her mom's coworker helping with luggage. Deborah kissed my cheek, her lips barely making contact. There's leftover casserole in the fridge. We'll be back January 4th. Don't forget to water my plants. I nodded. Drive safe. The SUV pulled out of the driveway. Emma waved once, a small guilty gesture through the back window. I waved back, standing there like a fool until the car disappeared around the corner. Then I pulled out my phone and set a timer. 18 hours until my flight. I walked back into the house. It felt different already, emptier, even though nothing had changed yet. I went straight to the garage and pulled down the hidden suitcases from the attic. My hands were steady now. No more shaking. No more doubt. I carried them inside and set them by the front door. Then I went to the kitchen and retrieved the letter from my office. I placed it on the kitchen table, propped against the salt shaker, the one Deborah's grandmother had given us as a wedding gift. The letter sat there like a grenade with the pin pulled. I had 18 hours. Time to finish this. December 20th, 8 p.m. The house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of neighbor kids playing in the street. I walked through each room one last time, not out of sentimentality, but to make sure I hadn't forgotten anything important. The living room still had the Christmas tree I'd put up 2 weeks ago. Deborah had insisted on decorating it together as a family, but she'd kept checking her phone, texting Marcus about their trip. Emma had hung 3 ornaments before getting bored and going to her room. I'd finished it alone at midnight. I didn't take the tree down. Let Deborah deal with it. In the kitchen, I placed my house keys on top of the sealed envelope. Then I took off my wedding ring, a simple gold band we'd picked out together 4 years ago, and set it beside the keys. I read the letter one more time, even though I'd memorized every word. Deborah, by the time you read this, I'll be in Sydney, Australia. I've accepted the position I turned down 3 times, for us. But I finally understand there is no us. I'm the stand-in. The placeholder. I'm done auditioning for a role in my own family. The house is yours. I've paid January and February's mortgage. My lawyer will contact you next week regarding divorce proceedings. I've taken only what was mine. You'll find your funds untouched. I hope Emma's real father gives her what I couldn't. I hope you find what you're looking for. Goodbye, Anthony. I looked at the wedding ring one last time. 4 years. Not a long marriage in the grand scheme of things, but I'd invested everything into it. Every hope, every dream, every compromise. The click of the front door locking behind me was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. I didn't see what happened at Marcus's house, but Emma told me later. Much later, in a letter I received 2 years after I left. She needed me to know what Christmas had really been like. December 25th. Marcus's house was everything Deborah had imagined. A sprawling colonial in the suburbs with actual columns, a 3-car garage, landscaping that looked professionally maintained. The pool Emma had been so excited about was covered for winter, empty and forgotten. Marcus's new wife, Jennifer, answered the door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You must be Emma. And Deborah. Come in, come in. Her voice had that practiced cheerfulness of someone hosting people they didn't really want there. Tyler, Marcus's 4-year-old son, screamed from somewhere upstairs. Jennifer's smile tightened. Sorry, he's excited about presents. Christmas morning was chaos. Tyler opened present after present. Expensive toys, video games, a child-sized electric car for the backyard. Emma got 3 gifts. A sweater that was the wrong size, a generic book about horses, and a $50 Visa gift card. Marcus didn't even remember she hated horses. She'd been terrified of them since getting thrown from one at camp 3 years ago. I would have remembered. Dinner was awkward. Jennifer kept making pointed comments. Marcus, didn't you say they'd only stay through Christmas Day? Marcus deflected, uncomfortable. Tyler demanded all attention, throwing food when he didn't get his way. Emma sat quietly, watching her real father cater to his real son. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She got up for water and heard Marcus and Jennifer arguing in the kitchen. You said they'd stay in a hotel? Jennifer hissed. It's Christmas, Jen. I can't kick them out on Christmas. Your daughter looks at you like you're Santa Claus, Marcus. When are you going to tell her you're not getting back together with Deborah? Silence. Emma's heart shattered. Deborah's key turned in the lock. The first thing she noticed was the cold. The house felt like a refrigerator. The thermostat display showed 55 degrees. Anthony? Her voice echoed through the empty rooms. No answer. Emma ran past her into the living room. The Christmas tree was still up, lights unplugged, ornaments hanging like sad memories. Everything looked exactly as they'd left it, but wrong somehow. Hello. Deborah saw the envelope on the kitchen table. Her hands shook as she picked it up. Her name was written in my handwriting, neat, precise, so typically me. She opened it, and as she read, the color drained from her face. She read it once, twice, 3 times. The words weren't changing. No. No, 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 no. She grabbed her phone and called my number. Straight to voicemail. She called again. Same result. She texted, Anthony, please call me. This is crazy. Where are you? Nothing. She ran to our bedroom. The closet half empty. My side of the bathroom counter. Cleared. My electric toothbrush, my shaving cream, my cologne, all gone. She opened the banking app with trembling fingers. Joint savings account, $23,127. Only her money. I'd taken every penny of mine. Her legs gave out. She sat on the bathroom floor, the reality crashing down on her like a collapsing building. Emma appeared in the doorway. Mom, where's Anthony? Deborah couldn't speak. She couldn't breathe. She just handed Emma the letter. Emma read it silently, her young face aging years in seconds. When she finished, tears were streaming down her cheeks. Mom, what did we do? The call started immediately. Deborah tried 47 times over the next week. Every call went to a voicemail that was eventually full. She sent emails. The first ones were angry, how dare you abandon us like this? After everything we've been through. Then desperate, please Anthony, we can talk about this. Don't throw away our family. Then bargaining, I'll call it off with Marcus. We'll do counseling. Please come home. Every email got the same auto-response. Please direct all communication to my attorney Robert Chin, or Ken at chinlegal.com. She tried social media. My Facebook was deleted. Instagram, gone. LinkedIn showed my location had updated. Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. The profile picture was new. Me standing on a beach I didn't recognize, genuinely smiling. She called my work. Hello, this is Deborah Miller. I need to reach my husband, Anthony Miller. The receptionist's voice was professionally sympathetic. I'm sorry, Mrs. Miller. Mr. Miller relocated to our Sydney office. We cannot provide personal contact information for employees. She tried my brother David. He answered on the third ring. David, thank God. I need Anthony's new number. He's not. Deborah. His voice was ice. He told me what happened. It's a misunderstanding. If I could just talk to him. You called him a stand-in. To his face. After he turned down his dream job 3 times for you. I didn't mean. Don't call this number again. Click. Dial tone. Emma cried herself to sleep every night. I could hear her through the walls. Deborah wrote to me later. I want to say I'm sorry, Emma would whisper. I just want to tell him I'm sorry. You can't, baby, Deborah would say. He's gone. On January 18th, a legal envelope arrived. Dissolution of marriage, petitioner, Anthony James Miller. Court date, March 15th. February hit like a sledgehammer. Deborah sat at the kitchen table with bills spread out like a losing poker hand. Mortgage, $2,400. Utilities, $340. Car payment, $380. Emma's school expenses, $200. Groceries, insurance, phone, the numbers kept adding up. Her paycheck from her part-time administrative job, $2,100 a month after taxes. Marcus's child support, $800. Total, $2,900. Monthly expenses without me, $4,200. She was $1,300 short. Every single month. She took a second job waitressing at Denny's. 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the office, then 5 p.m. to midnight slinging eggs and coffee. She'd come home smelling like grease, her feet screaming, and collapse into bed for 4 hours before starting again. Emma microwaved dinners alone. Deborah left notes on the counter. Heat for 3 minutes. Homework done? Love you. The notes became their relationship. They lowered the thermostat to 62 degrees. Emma wore sweatshirts indoors. They stopped going out to eat. No more movies. No more mall trips. Deborah's friend Sarah didn't understand. Why don't you fight this? Sarah demanded over cheap wine in Deborah's cold living room. He owes you alimony. He abandoned you. Deborah laughed bitterly. Abandoned? Sarah, I told him he was just a stand-in. What am I going to say in court? That he should pay for the privilege of being disrespected in his own home. March 15th. Divorce court. I didn't attend. Robert Chin handled everything remotely. The judge was efficient. No alimony, short marriage, both employed. Deborah had her own income. The house transferred to Deborah's name. All of it. Including the full mortgage payment. Deborah signed the papers with a pen that kept skipping. Her signature looked shaky, desperate. May brought the foreclosure notice. Deborah sat on the kitchen floor holding the paper, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. Emma found her there, crumpled against the cabinets. Mom will be okay, Emma said, but her voice cracked. She was 12 years old, trying to parent her parent. By July they were packing boxes. The bank had won. Deborah and Emma moved into her parents' old property, a rundown 2-bedroom house on the edge of town that had been vacant since her father died 5 years ago. The house was a disaster. No central heating, just space heaters that made the electricity bill skyrocket. The roof leaked in 3 places. They put out buckets when it rained. The neighborhood was rough. Emma's new school was rougher. Deborah worked her 2 jobs, barely keeping the lights on. Emma grew quieter, harder. She stopped talking about school, stopped asking for things, stopped being a kid. One night in September, Emma did homework by candlelight because Deborah hadn't paid the electricity bill. The power company had given them 3 warnings. Emma didn't complain. She just lit candles and kept working on her math problems. While organizing her desk, she found an old photo, me at her 11th birthday party, smiling as she blew out the candles. I'd baked that cake myself, spent 2 hours on YouTube learning how to make frosting roses. Emma stared at the photo and cried. Silent tears that ran down her face and dripped onto her algebra worksheet. Deborah watched from the doorway, her heart breaking into smaller and smaller pieces. I'm sorry, baby, Deborah whispered. Emma didn't look up. He's not the one you should be apologizing to. December 20th. 1 year exactly since I'd walked out. Deborah and Emma sat in their cold house eating spaghetti with butter because sauce was expensive. The space heater glowed orange in the corner, fighting a losing battle against winter. Emma was 13 now. She looked older, something in her eyes had aged beyond her years. Poverty does that. Regret does that. I looked Anthony up on LinkedIn, Emma said quietly, twirling pasta on her fork. He's still in Sydney. His profile says he's a senior director now. There's a picture of him at some beach. He looks happy. Deborah's tears came instantly, silently. They've been coming easier lately. I know, she whispered. Do you think he'd ever talk to us? If I wrote him a letter? Deborah set down her fork. She reached across the table and took Emma's hand. I don't think so, honey. I don't think we get a second chance with people like Anthony. Emma nodded. She'd known the answer already. I just wish I could tell him I'm sorry. That I know now. That he was my real dad the whole time, and I didn't see it until he was gone. They ate in silence. The space heater clicked off automatically, another 15 minutes and it would turn back on. Deborah had it on a timer to save money. Later, Deborah lay in bed staring at her phone. Anthony's number was still in her contacts. She'd changed the name months ago, one night when she'd had too much cheap wine and too much grief. The contact name now read, "The one I lost." She'd never delete it. It was all she had left. In her room, Emma kept that photograph on her nightstand. Me smiling at her birthday party, looking at her like she was the most important person in the world. Because she had been. Meanwhile in Sydney I watched the sunset over the harbor. Melissa sat beside me on the balcony of my apartment, her hand in mine, laughing at something I'd just said. The city glowed orange and gold. Sailboats dotted the water. I didn't think about Deborah. I didn't check my old phone number. I didn't wonder if Emma missed me. I'd learned something important. You can't make people value you. You can only value yourself enough to walk away when they don't. Some people spend their whole lives chasing ghosts. I'd spent 4 years being one. Not anymore. I was finally, completely, genuinely free. And somewhere back in that cold house in America, Deborah finally understood what she'd lost. But understanding comes too late sometimes. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. And some doors once closed don't open again. She'd chosen a fantasy over reality. Now she lived in the ruins of that choice.